want to talk about sex therapy and mental health issues, but specifically with depression, because that's one that couples really, really feel with that. And so check in, everybody, and then we will dive in with what y'all have to share and say. All right, Jessica Addison, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's good. Anything new and exciting going on in your life?
I have nothing to do. I've got all my work done, so I'm going to relax,
Oh,
drink, and be
okay.
merry. That's what I'm going to do.
Yay. All right, Sherry, and how you doing today?
Doing good, doing good.
That's good. And Joe?
Same. All's
Okay.
quiet on the front.
Yay. All right then. Okay. Well, hopefully we can have a wonderful session today. All right. So depression and sex. All right, Sharon, what have you noticed and what do you want your clients to know or people in general to know with when somebody in the couple is dealing with depression?
Okay, I think that the first thing that should be understood with dealing with depression is understanding and labeling some of those depressive feelings or emotions, maybe. And sometimes we have to externalize those things and understand that you can still be a you and still have depression, if that makes sense. Like you don't have to believe that you are a depressed person. You can believe that it's times out the day that depression is not overtaking you. You know, you could treat depression like neighbors that just come by and visit for a while.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, and you just have a little conversation with them, acknowledge the emotion, acknowledge whatever that depression those neighbors are bringing at the time, and then you have to send them on their way. So it's almost like once you honor that feeling, you and your partner can start thinking about the very next little bitty thing that you can do. So now that I sent with myself and the neighbor has come and they have visited and we sent them on their way, what are we going to do next? Small next, not big next, because being happy, that's a big next. Yeah. But it could just be something like, okay, now I can go for a walk.
Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah. Something that simple. And when we're looking at couples and sex therapy, then a walk would be a perfect thing to do to just kind of reconnect with your partner and re-engage in the relationship. So something as simple as that. What has me thinking about this topic this morning, and I was listening to a book and it was talking about Rick Warren. He's the one who came up with purpose-driven life. Do y'all remember that? It was real big 10, 15 years ago, maybe, purpose-driven life. And because he is a minister of one of the mega churches of America. And it was saying how he had just dealt with bouts of depression. And I was just like, wow, you wouldn't think that a guy that successful, that saved, or that Christian, you know, would deal with depression. And yet he did and still had fabulous success. And I think that's all about the ability to say what you just said, Sherry, is to handle it, see it as a friend. Okay, you're here. Let me acknowledge you. How do I deal with you? And then send you on your way. What are the things that I need to put in place? All right, Jessica Addison, what does that have you coming up with or thinking about when we think about couples dealing with depression and still trying to be intimate?
I would say just to externalize that characteristic, because I know a lot of people will say, well, that's just me. But when you start saying it's not me, but it's a trait or characteristic that comes every now and again. And I know that it's not a problem, but it's something that I'm not too fond of. And now I need to see how I need to weigh myself off of letting that characteristic take ownership of me and know how to handle it accordingly. So even if just acknowledging that it's something that you don't want to take ownership of is a great first step. Which isn't major, but it's a great first step.
It is. And so going a little bit deeper on that of kind of externalizing it is saying something to the effect of, okay, this is one of the enemies of our marriage. This is one of the things that we have to guard against, that we have to prepare for, that we need to make a strategic plan around so that it doesn't take our marriage out, because it can. Like I've had people and clients and just known people who have dealt with depression 10 years. Like, the only thing they did was go to work and come home and work just barely enough to keep from getting fired so that they could have a home to come to. And so when you as a couple say, okay, one of the things as a couple that we're going to have to fight against and have a plan around, like a strategic plan around, is depression. Because when it attacks one of the partners, it attacks the relationship. All right, what else is coming up for y'all? Joe, what are you thinking? And your hair looks really
Mine
good
is
today.
kind of over here, but it's more, it's back to what you said about Rick Warner. And a girlfriend of mine and I were having a conversation, and that is, a lot of times when there's a stronger person, you're saying, hey, he's Christian, you're not thinking he has depression. But what ends up happening with people in leadership, especially in ministry, with depression, is everybody thinks that they're the big person, that they won't crack, that they don't need support. And I totally can identify with him because people forget about the underneath. He's still a human being. He still needs somebody to say, hey, how are you doing? And that's what we do at the beginning of the call. How are you doing? You're checking in. But nobody has filled him up on the bottom, and he's getting tapped into on the top. So in relationships, we have to remember, even though there's a stronger person in a relationship, sometimes they need that same nurturing as the one that may not be as strong. And that's where things kind of dip, because they go and they're always leaning on, can we say lean? And,
right.
on the one that's stronger, and they need to be filled up too, so that they don't sink and they keep going, and that's where people start to have the wrong thoughts because it's not repaired at that level. So that's my, kind of our take on it. And I've been hearing that a lot. We have to nurture the people who are also the ones we lean on a lot to make sure that they're built up underneath.
Yeah. I was also listening to this one book covered a lot of people. So, and I think it was a book about habits, but it was also talking about Martin Luther King, and kind of at the height, or at the kind of the beginning of the movement, how people were calling him all times of the day, all times of the night, like, just kind of pulling on him all the time. And I think that's a good thing for us to remember about leaders, is that a lot of people are pulling on them. And so they may need support in ways we don't think. We don't naturally think that, they might need this or might need that with that. And so to kind of bring it back to couples therapy, and I think we might need to do a whole call on like high profile couples, because there's certain things. I've had a couple of high profile couples and couples who are in business together as well as ministry together. And it's a couple of things specifically that I want those couples doing, so that they can have a relationship and not just a business relationship or a ministry relationship, but actually an intimate relationship, and they're caring for each other. All right. So when it comes to kind of struggling with a mental health issue like depression and sex and intimacy, sharing anything else you're thinking of that we need to let the people know about, or give them some tips and tricks and tools?
Well, the only thing I can think of now in the moment is the fact that how that does influence sexual desire, right? And being able to understand how that the partner who either suffers from depression or the one who is in the relationship with the one with depression, how sexual desire will be influenced by that, but regaining some strength in some of those moments that depression is not taking over, to take advantage of that and figure out how you can experience sex again, or how a reconnection can take place when you just not being like overtaken by depression.
That's really, really good. So what's one specific thing you would want that couple to do to reconnect?
Well, one specific thing I would want the couple to do to reconnect is to figure out what each other needs to even feel connected in the first place.
Oh,
sort of honor that.
Yeah.
And so to honor that. So if you know that this person needs you to watch a movie and hold their hand, and then they'll start kissing you during the movie. See, I'm that person. I complain to my husband, I just want to watch a movie. And then maybe I want to be intimate. But before the movie's even over, he's getting lucky, right? Because when I've just had that feeling of closeness and I had the feeling to relax and not feel like this is something that got to happen now. So I get to start thinking about it and building on it. And sometimes about 10 minutes into relaxing, I'm like, you know what? I don't even think I want to watch this movie right now. So you just have to understand what your thing is for yourself. You know.
No, that's perfect. So basically what you're saying is have a specific reconnection activity. That, okay, hey, I'm feeling better. Can we do whatever the specific reconnection activity is that evening or the next morning or whenever y'all can with that? And then I think that's perfect because a lot of times the partner who isn't dealing with depression and they're just trying to hold the fort down and keep the boat afloat while everything doesn't know when to re-engage. Like when can I get back in there? When can I say, hey, can we pay attention to me? And so having kind of a specific activity to be the like, okay, we're open for business again. That would be excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, Jessica Addison, are you thinking about anything?
I have something, and to piggyback on what Sharon said, I was doing some research on some books that you sent me, and it talked about when we were younger, how simple things brought us sensation to us, and it wasn't sexual. So going back to it could be massaging your partner's thigh, and it feels good. It's not all the way sexual, but it's sensual. And then when you feel comfortable, maybe move up to their private area. And if it's too much, you can go back down and go back to that sensual area until you feel more confident, work your way up. So using all your senses to get that sensation is a great way to reconnect. So you have a lot of resources that you didn't know around you to get back to that point. And also, if you have someone, going back to one to lean on someone, being in a relationship is a partnership. So it's not one person the end all be all. You have something for me, I have something for him or her. So knowing that just like you're missing something, they might have a missing piece or can guide you back to where you want to be. Nobody is whole enough that they don't need anybody, because that's your partner for a reason.
Yeah. Excellent. And so what this does making me think of is learning your depression and learning what you need to overcome with that. And so treat it like any other thing that you would have a flare up on. And so if I have a flare up with my ankle, well, I know I need to ice it and stay off of it for about 4 hours and then it'll feel better. I want to say if I have a flare up with my finances, I know to put them credit cards in the freezer until
I go and get mine out and then thaw it and be like, well,
right. But start to pay attention to yourself and have a plan for how do I get out of this? What do I need to do to take care of myself? What are the things that'll pull me out? Even more than that, what are the things that will pull me into a depression? And how do I guard against that? Like, can I see it coming? Can I learn how to see it coming? Can my partner tell me? Because a lot of times people around us will see things about us way before we figure it out or know it ourselves. Like I remember one of my friends was like, you get headaches a lot. I do. Well, I guess I do. Oh, well, now that you say it, I have been carrying out a supersized bottle of Excedrin to take every day. I guess, and I just had noticed myself, because human beings are so good at kind of doing what we need to do and cope and moving on. And so it wasn't until an outside person said, you get headaches an awfully lot, that I was like, oh, okay, this isn't normal. Let me go see a doctor. Let's get this figured out. And so I want couples to be able to work in partnership, to be able to say, hey, you done slept late 3 days in a row. Is that a sign that you're starting to head into a depressive episode? Is it starting to flare up? What are you needing from me? What are we needing to do? And then know for yourself, hopefully trial and error over years, you figured out the right combination, the right recipe to start to pull yourself out of depression, but even to stop yourself from going into a depressive episode.
And can I add something to that? I'm
Please
sorry.
do.
A lot of people, me personally, I've came across in relationships when I want to talk about something just so we can problem shoot an issue, and I get the response of, "Well, I just want to argue. I don't want to talk about nothing negative today." So when I'm at a point where something happens and triggers me, and it's the straw that broke the camel's back, and if I just explode, you're looking like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where we could have had a adult conversation. It doesn't have to be a debate. It doesn't have to be an argument, but it's something that needs to be talked about. So when it gets to that point, we know how to handle it.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. So one of the things that I know I always want my couples to do is to establish like a consistent time where we can talk about the hard things. And so whether that's a weekly meeting or a bi-weekly meeting, and then we need to talk about all the things that we might not want to talk about in the middle of watching the kids play baseball on Saturday with that. But if we have that designated time where we know every Sunday at 2, we're going to go to brunch and we're going to talk about all the hard things, like everything that I hadn't been saying over the last week, so we can handle it. And I think when there's a system to it for how we're going to handle, I'm going to call them the grievances of the relationships, or even just the points we need to improve in the relationship, then that makes it easier to have the conversation with that. And we know we both got to come ready to do it. And just remembering that a relationship is work. Like it is work. It is putting these little structures and habits in place so that it works smoothly and works easily. All right, Joe, what else is coming up for you?
Well, I'm gonna add on to that. It's work and it's also follow through, but it's also, once you work on it, you got to follow through.
Yeah.
And not drop the ball and go running off like you're 2 years old,
Yeah.
and pray for me. And, so that, you got to work on it.
Yeah.
Got to work on it.
Right.
And it's a team effort.
No,
excuse me, it's a team effort that everybody's got to participate in. And again, we go back to the Hallmark movies. It's all fun and all free, but see, in between that, to get to that, you're having conversations, behind the scenes. Sometimes somebody doesn't want to talk. I get that, you have the set aside times and things like that. You get into a regimen, but sometimes people aren't there. They don't want to talk. So what do you do when that happens? So how do you go around that? But everything has been very good. And, as far as what everybody has said, I'm just listening, I'm learning. But that's all I have to add to it. It's just, follow through with it, and then have little checkpoints, say, okay, well, we did that. And somebody's follow through may not look like somebody else's, which is what we talked about. And it's just a matter of language. It's like I'm speaking French, you're speaking Spanish or German or something. Heck, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So, it's getting on the right page and getting on the same, speaking the same language.
Yeah.
Even if it's one word at a time. How does that look for you?
Right. That's an excellent point. And I think to piggyback on that is speaking the same language takes speaking to a person, like having conversations with a person consistently over time. And just like 2 people walking down the sidewalk, after a while, they start walking in stride with each other, steps, lock in step with each other. And so when you hang out with a person, have enough conversations, you guys will start to think alike and will start to realize like where we have commonality and we are walking in stride together. But it is going to take kind of that effort and that follow up and follow through. And I think it was December. We were all talking about follow through, and we needed to be better with follow through in 2023. And that was the biggest thing, follow through is important. It is its own skill that needs to be built. Follow through, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. It is a skill that has to be built. All right, ladies.
And it's repeat, and I just wanted to add, I'm sorry, one other thing is repeat and repeat. Usually when I teach a class, it's like, it's repetitive. Your students aren't going to learn just once. You've got to go back. You got to keep hitting it. You got to keep hitting it. And then, you build on that. So, okay, you got that part. It may be the same step, but there may be 10 steps within that one step. You got to repeat and repeat. You don't eat the elephant all at one time. A little bit at a time, you're going to choke.
Yep.
That's
so what's
simple.
that old saying?
So,
repetition is the mother of learning.
Repetition is a mother of learning, and it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. It's not microwavable.
Right.
It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right, Sherry, and last comments. What's coming up for you?
I guess my last comment would be I just share something that I do with some of my couples that struggle like this. And that is sometimes you just each make a list, because we have to remember that a person that's not dealing with depression needs support too.
Yeah.
So to be able to make a list of these are the things I need when I'm going through depression, these are the things that I need from you, or the outside things that I need. Maybe I need to go to the gym because you've been depressed for 3 weeks. So being able to make a list of needs and wants, like a safety plan. But what I tell them is sort of don't discuss the list with each other, just exchange the list. And then you know what to do, because like Joe said, sometimes you don't want to talk. So when you know what's happening, everybody knows what to do.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So this is on your list. Okay, so let me make her some pasta and take her to Brewster's.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what, so when he's saying he's going to the gym, it's not personal. He just needs a break. So you already know it's on the list. You don't have to have a conversation about it. And that level of understanding, you can just ebb and flow with each other in a way. And it's, most of my clients are reporting they really like the whole little exchange list without discussing it. Because sometimes when you get into discussing it, then it's opening up a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And instead of just taking the list, this is one of these times that you can be surface level, because I don't like surface level. But this is the one time I allow everybody to just face value. What's on the list is just what's on the list. Don't dig into
there
it.
You go.
Don't try to find a deeper meaning. Just
That's
do
right.
That makes sense.
It's not that deep.
Right.
That's
All right,
good.
Jessica Addison, last comments, last thoughts for you.
Even if you want to have a date night, and make sure that date night we're talking about no issues, just enjoying the moment. That's a great way too. And if you want to take sharing list and cut it up, put in a bowl, so you just this is Natalie's bowl, this is Natalie's partner's bowl. You acting depressed. Let me see what. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Randomly grab something.
Yeah.
You can just do like a cookie jar almost.
Yeah.
I want to say something real quick about what Jessica said. So we try that in my marriage, right? We're like, okay, we're going to go out. We're not going to talk about no issues and no kids. So what we did, we came up with a little phrase when somebody getting out. And I don't know if y'all remember the Whitney Houston thing when she was taking the Grammy and she's like, hey, you better lay low. That's the phrase when somebody said, we're going, you better lay low.
That's cute. That's so cute.
Like, okay.
Gotcha. So having that little inside joke where we can like each other and say, hey, that's not where we at right now. Come back over here. Oh, that's great. That's great. All right. Joe, any last thoughts in the last 2 minutes?
No, it's good. Have a good weekend. No, I'm good.
All right.
I feel my beignets too.
Well, I think my last thoughts is just reminding couples that this is life, that this is life. And so no matter who you are, or how good you think you are, how bad you think you are, it like this is just life. And so learning how to cope, live, love as we deal with these various issues and problems as life is just life. Because I think sometimes people are like, why is this happening to me? Everybody else has a great life. No, they got their issues too. They do. Nobody's out here living a perfect life. Like nobody is, and I remember watching the movie, The King's Speech. And so this is a child who's growing up in royalty, and you think he would have it all. And all the love, all the care and attention. And he didn't. Like, he was neglected, he was starved. And so you just never know what other people are going through. So have gratitude for your life, and then do the work to make your life the best it can. All right. Well, ladies, thank you guys for spending this time with us and giving this good information and putting it out in the world. And so we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our content today. We are here at Atlanta Sex Therapy to serve. If you did like our content, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Also, click the little bell so you can get notifications when we put new videos out. People don't know what sex therapists do, and we're trying to get the information out there and spread the word. So I'm going to ask you to send this to 3 people because you never know who may be in need of more good information about sex. Thank you, and just have a wonderful day in life.